Welcome to The Leftovers here on CinemaGulp. I'm Ben, joined as always by Kat from the Phantasmagorium Show. On this episode of The Leftovers, we are tackling the 2025 summer movies that we have yet to discuss. Starting off with F1 from June. Kat, what do you got for us?
Pretty predictable movie, but the cinematography is really banger because they got these excellent 4K cameras that have been mounted to the cars. It's better than actual F1 cinematography from when you watch the sport live. They were trying to do another Top Gun thing with Joseph Kosinski directing, and this time Brad Pitt. Instead of jets, it's like, oh, it's with cars. But again, the story's kind of predictable. I think it is a bit too long at 2.5 hours. I was kind of feeling the runtime, but it's still a really good movie. That's totally there for the summer. Totally check it out if you haven't seen it already. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Great racing scenes.
Really entertaining. Brad Pitt brings a charm I haven't seen in quite a while. Really good direction and editing. This film, just like you said, it feels like it's in the Top Gun universe. When we were watching it, I even said that. There's something about it. The energy, the sweat. And well, that makes sense considering it's directed by Joe Kosinski. If you just want a fun, adrenaline-filled car racing movie with heart and humor, this one's great. It's an expensive film to make, and it shows in every frame. I'm not a big racing car guy, but for some reason, I really like racing car movies. I find them typically mostly enjoyable. This one being one of the better ones. Really liked F1. We're jumping into August with Naked Gun. The laughs are back. I could not be happier to report that the slapstick comedy genre is alive and well. Liam Neeson takes over the role and crushes it. Pamela Anderson is a comedic revelation here with her scat singing and deadpan humor. There's a montage scene involving a snowman in this movie that is so fucking funny, I want an entire movie just on that. It made me laugh and brought back fond memories of Police Squad and Naked Gun with the background gags and the easy exchanged moments. I thought this movie was the funniest movie of the year.
Definitely, considering that 99% of comedies aren't even funny. Sight gags every 10 to 15 seconds, nonstop jokes. I like the running gag with the coffee. It's like, man, what was if not the coffee budget, what was the styrofoam cup budget on this movie?
Bam! Yo, I'm a styrofoam cup, yo!
You're an aluminum can! Get that thing off your head and get in the recycling bin!
Yo, but I'm a styrofoam cup.
But yeah, it was really fun. It was funny, and it's like, yes, bring comedies back. They've been casted off to like direct to streaming schlock, and it's like, no, you need to make comedies again. This was really great. Liam Neeson's perfect casting. Totally doing great at the deadpan humor. So it was a really fun movie. I recommend it.
I figured out, Kat, that people are just saying the term, well, you can't make that anymore, or you can't make that comedy anymore. You can. You just have to make it. And when you make it, people will still go and people will still find it funny. That whole myth of, well, you can't make comedies anymore because people get offended. This one's got a lot of offensive humor in it, and nobody's talking about that. They're just talking about how funny it is. So make more of this kind of stuff. Going way back to June, Megan 2, or Megan 2.0. Friggin' hilarious, completely off the rails. This one goes full retard from the opening frame to the closing. It takes what was unexpected in the original and dials it up to 50. The original cast is back, but the world we enter in this one is drastically different from the first. This movie takes a mild horror comedy from the first and turns it into an action-packed spy thriller, espionage thriller, slapstick comedy, fast and furious superhero movie. Sounds bad? Well, yeah, kind of is, but also fun. And I was there for every second. It's a complete whack fest of absurdity and impossible situations. It bombed hard, so I doubt we'll see Megan again, but at least they went out with a bang and didn't just try to do the same thing all over again.
Fantastic Four, I like the retro future design. I think the best scene in the movie is the opening montage, which is really fun. You see, Mole Man steals every scene that he's in. Sucks that they cut John Malkovich's Red Ghost from the movie. But the rest of the story is, really serious, kind of doom and gloom and dour. Galactus looks amazing, but very one-dimensional characters, just not much there. And I was kind of frustrated because I think it makes the same mistake that the first Captain America movie made, which is, we have to get him with the Avengers as quickly as possible. I'm like, no, why don't you make a few movies based on that opening montage, and then you could do the story of Franklin Richards. But again, Feige's in a rush to get to the shared universe thing, And it's a shame because this is the first Marvel movie in a while where you don't need to have any prior knowledge of anything to be able to watch it. Yeah, Pedro Pascal, he didn't seem to be playing Reed Richards that much. I mean, good performance, but a lot of doom and gloom from that character too. So
I really enjoyed it when I walked out of the theater, but the longer I think about it, the more comes to light that it's not as good as I thought it was. I think it's because I really liked the characters so much. It's a well-constructed movie, and I think the characters are interesting, and I 100% agree with you. I want to see just more of these characters in this world first. It was kind of how I was so happy that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 just kept another Guardians of the Galaxy story and didn't merge. And I honestly didn't even want them to merge in because I liked them so much, though it turned out fine in Infinity War. But Johnny Storm for me is the highlight. Funny, heroic, smarter than most other iterations of the character. I also liked Herbie, not annoying, and he was in it just enough to stay cute. But spoilers, he dies, but then comes back because he's a robot, so I guess it doesn't matter. Galactus looks amazing, imposing, dangerous, gigantic. Unfortunately, the look and feel doesn't translate into those dangerous moments showing up on screen. Very easily defeated, and I really didn't like how Thing was barely utilized in the final battle, aside from just knocking over a building to help trip up Galactus's feet. I thought that was really bad.
What have you done? What have you done?
He finally says his catchphrase, and you think it's going to be this big moment, but then he doesn't do anything. And when he says, it's got good things about it. I do wish there was, just like Guardians of the Galaxy, one more Fantastic Four movie in this universe before we jump into what eventually is going to happen and be a big clusterfuck that we all know is coming. It stretches just above a mid-movie for me.
So this movie, Weapons, had the best hook of any movie this year. And I think that has a lot to do with why it performed so well opening weekend. It's like, you get a good mystery, and people are going to come racing to it in droves. I found it kind of interesting that, you know, after the angry parent town hall meeting, there's only really two characters in the movie who seem to care that the kids are missing still, being the teacher and the father, played by Josh Brolin. Whereas everybody else, if you wandered into this town, you wouldn't really know this thing had happened. And if you showed up to the movie 10 minutes late, you'd be hard-pressed to know what happened, because that's how disinterested Zach Kreger is in addressing the actual mystery, as he breaks the story down following multiple characters, and you see things from different perspectives. A very slow burn, but it all starts to come together. At times, I thought it was too slow for its own good. When some of the reveals were coming, it was kind of like, okay, because when you're doing a reveal in a slow burn, it didn't feel as, I guess, dramatic as I thought it was going to be. I did love the story, though. I like when you find out what's going on as you realize this is becoming a fairy tale and not your standard mystery. And it's like, oh, that's why the movie's structured this way. Josh Brolin was fantastic. Amy Madigan is just really great as Aunt Gladys, who will enter probably the horror pantheons. This is another very popular character. I think this is a major improvement over his previous film, Barbarian. And he's expressed interest in doing a prequel at some point down the line. So yeah, Zach Kreger on the radar. One of the better movies of the year, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. After watching it a second time, I did pick up on a couple of things that I didn't quite, that might have sneaked past me the first time. And I think it's that the town is being sort of led astray by the police, that it's really, they have nothing. So they're just trying to keep it, out of the public limelight, I guess. And you just don't see enough of regular people. It's so focused on your main cast that you don't really see other parents grieving or wondering what's going on, except for that, like you said, that the parent teacher meeting or whatever, the assembly they have at the opening.
And you have imagery in this movie, like the AR-15 in the sky and the flowers left behind at the school, and people thought maybe they're doing like a school shooting analogy, but it's like, I didn't really feel that, because again, you don't feel the sense of mourning throughout the community or the town, and that because as the story unfolds, you see it's a different type of movie. The structure was interesting for what they were trying to pull off there.
I didn't really get the AR-15 imagery, to be honest with you. I didn't quite understand it, unless it's trying to say, okay, this is the house where all the weapons are. This is the house where the kids are.
The title, of course, refers to the fact of all the different weapons used in the movie, and it's not a coincidence that a lot of the characters have biblical names, like Justine being the scapegoat, the scapegoated witch who's not actually a witch, who's eventually redeemed when the children return, as in the Bible story.
Well, even 217 is from the
217, and the fact that the one missing boy prominently mentioned Matthew 217 in the Bible is Herod coming forth with the prophecy to kill the children all under age 2, and so there's that. And you have Andrew the principal, Paul and James, who are all the apostles of Gladys and become weapons. So it's like, okay, they're doing different things with it, and so you can see kind of that it's drawing from multiple things. Zach Kreger himself said that the plight of the two parents at the main house who are just practically stupefied is him doing an analogy of alcoholism and what it does, like these things that come into your life. And you see how the various characters like Paul and James have vices that made them vulnerable. And so it's like, okay, so I can see what he's meaning by weapons and these things, like Paul being the recovering alcoholic, James being a junkie. And it's like, okay, he's playing around with all sorts of things, and maybe it all doesn't come together thematically as nicely as it could, but I still think it's a good movie. And the attempts at deliberate humor, particularly in the climax, were quite surprising and very fun.
I loved it. He did the same thing with Barbarian. The final action set piece in that movie on that water tower is pretty much played for laughs at the end. This one had me laughing a lot harder at the end, but it was still a satisfying payoff. It didn't take away from that. To me, this movie's an exercise in tension and non-linear storytelling. You don't see a lot of movies with this structure anymore, and I kind of miss it. If done well, it could really be a nice viewing experience, telling you right off the bat that you have to keep up with this. The movie's not exactly what the trailer makes you think, but I think that's kind of a good thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing. The fact that, the trailer is basically the opening montage of the film, I was surprised. I was like, oh, so we're entering in a world where this has already happened, not so this happens during the course of the film. I think Julia Garner was really good, shifting her character traits several times, where she's sort of a squirrely teacher, and then she's abrasive, and then she's like an alcoholic loof. She does a good job of you going like, okay, I'm willing to follow this person because her heart's in the right place, but she's a pretty flawed, fucked up person. She drinks and drives. She gets her, I'm guessing, ex-boyfriend, young Han Solo, to drink after he's been sober. I mean, he pulled the trigger, she didn't, but she was persuasive. I just like the unique plot, and it's structured in that way that I really miss movies taking a chance and doing, because it's not whatever you think about the outcome of the script, it's not lazy. I heard that there was a lot of people bidding for this script, and I can see why. I'm glad it ended up in the hands that it did. There was points where I wish it gave us more of certain characters instead of switching over to someone else. I think that was the point. As the tension starts to ramp up and come to a head, it rewinds, resets, and goes to somebody else. It's not very scary, but it's very tense. It builds and builds and builds. It also has a lot more humor than I think some people were expecting. Cass is fantastic. Kreger's he's turning out to be a really interesting director that can completely throw you for a loop. If I were to rate this in regards to weapons, I'd say it's a 50 cal.
All right, so Ari Aster, who's known for doing some very whacked out crazy films, is back. This time he makes a movie that's largely a snapshot of 2020 for a lot of people. Takes place in the fictional town of Eddington, New Mexico, where you have Joaquin Phoenix playing starts out as like what you'd call the common sense conservative sheriff, and he's facing off against the liberal town mayor, played by Pedro Pascal, and they're arguing initially over mask mandates, and you find out that Pascal wants to build this massive AI data center, which is going to suck a lot of energy from the town, and Phoenix is upset about this, so he decides to run for mayor against him. And before you know it, you have the Black Lives Matter protest comes to Eddington, which kind of bewilders the cops there, because this is a very tiny department consisting of only 3 people. The sheriff.
There's nobody in the town.
There's nobody here. Which the sheriff brings that up. He's like, "Why are you here? I could see you doing this in Albuquerque, but why are you here?" And one of the protesters, who's a white woman, complains to one of the cops who's black, her ex-boyfriend, that you should be joining us and that kind of thing. He's not really into it. There's another guy from the high school who wants to impress this social justice warrior girl, and so he decides to become the most woke person ever and starts hosting rallies and speeches, and the movie just gets really funny and just absurdist. And admittedly, it gets to a point where the sheriff does something that I didn't buy he would do at that point in the story, which just felt arbitrary. Like Aster just wanted to do this, and then it just takes off in another direction and gets increasingly absurdist. But Aster says that, yeah, this movie is like, it's like holding up a mirror to society. Do you like this? So this is kind of the world we're living in right now. And so I thought that was clever, but at 2.5 hours, it's way too long. I think it starts running out of steam after that halfway point major character decision. I won't spoil it, but you'll know it when you see it, when the sheriff just does something. It's like, oh, you have Austin Butler playing this conspiracy theorist and total nutcase who I thought was going to have a bigger role in the movie, but he doesn't. Same with Emma Stone playing the sheriff's wife. She's totally into QAnon and all that type of stuff, and you expect her to have a bigger role, and she doesn't. But yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it's as funny as his previous film, Beau is Afraid, but I like that it's shorter, but even then it's still too long. And unfortunately, it didn't break even at the box office, lost a bit. A24 seems to like him, so I like that Ari Aster exists and is allowed to play in his corner of the sandbox, to quote the Coen brothers. So I hope he can continue to be allowed to make movies, because I think it's important to have unique voices like that, even if they don't hit a home run, all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ari Aster, this is his third quote unquote flop based on budget. Midsommar didn't make money. Beau's Afraid was his most expensive movie and completely bombed. And this one completely bombed. Though I'll say this right now, controversial as it may sound, I think this, to me, is his most rewatchable movie. I think Hereditary is his best movie, but I think this is his most rewatchable because it has a little bit of everything. It's very funny, it's disturbing, melodic, and very relevant. We're gonna start seeing more and more of these post-pandemic movies. I think Joaquin Phoenix just completely disappears in this role. He's so funny and confused, and he just has no respect from the people in this town. And I love Emma Stone's mom. His wife's mom just thinks he's a fucking joke.
Oh, she was perfect casting.
She was so good. She's one of the best parts of the movie.
Especially since she was cast as the mother in the Penguin series. And if you've seen that show,
yeah,
you know exactly what I'm talking about when we get to the ending of Eddington and how perfect that was.
Yeah, I didn't even put that together, but yeah,
yes.
You're right. I fucking loved this movie. To be honest with you, I think it's tied with another movie, Life of Chuck, which is my other favorite movie of the year. The movie I love that it takes on a very serious subject matter and puts it through the lens of a sitcom or like a Larry David type show. That's what it felt like to me. Like there's these uncomfortable scenes and it's all played for comedic laughs, but everything going on is serious, and no character is having a good time at any moment in this movie. It's all played straight, but it's the situational aspect of it is what makes it funny. I think Ari Aster is great at doing that, specifically in Beau is Afraid, which I thought was bonkers, and I loved every second of that movie, all 3 hours of it. But the comedy shines through more than I expected. Theater was laughing a lot in this one, especially the end where it's just one long exaggerated chase sequence with Joaquin Phoenix being chased by like a lone gunman. Joaquin Phoenix's performance just made it funny, just his noises and mannerisms while he's being chased. It may be hard to watch for some people. It deals with a lot of 2020 riots, COVID, racism, but damn, masterclass in filmmaking once again from Ari Aster. I agree with you. Let him play in a sandbox. One of these days, like Aronofsky made bomb after bomb after bomb until eventually Oscars started calling him. And then you get that clout, you have that cachet or whatever. I don't know if Ari Aster gives a fuck about that. I think he has his own voice and he wants to do it. But we need guys like him in Hollywood, people like him in Hollywood, like that, him and Eggers, like do your own thing. Just keep doing things that speak to you. Yeah, one of my favorite movies of the year. Happy Gilmore 2. Well, this is a Netflix one. I had a watch party for it, and I thought we were mostly going to laugh at it instead of with it, but I was slightly wrong. It's funny. It brought back the charm and the spirit of the first movie. Not simply a retread. It has a new plot with different characters and stakes. Sure, there's a lot of callbacks to the original, and those are usually the ones where the jokes just don't work that well. But that classic Adam Sandler humor from the 90s and 2000s, whether you like it or not, is front and center. And this movie made me laugh quite a bit. A lot of great golfer cameos as well. John Daly and Scotty Scheffler really stood out and had the most screen time. My boy Ricky Fowler, my favorite golfer, had a pretty funny joke in there. It's not going to win over any new fans. If you're not a fan of the first one, there's really no fucking way you like this one. But it feels like a good continuation of the 1995 comedy. Sandler having learned so much as an actor in those 30 years. And it really shows with his range in this and the way he decided to play Happy Gilmore. as way less of a buffoon, but equally as funny and charming. It's not high art, but it's got great heart. Ba-doom,
All right, so I saw Jurassic World Rebirth, and unfortunately, as expected from the Jurassic World franchise, this had a weak story, paper-thin characters, really weak plotting even. It very sluggishly paced, like it never really takes off. Excessive reliance on CGI. I know they use animatronics for some of them because I've seen behind the scenes photos, but they must have done something to apply a digital sheen because a lot of them just still doesn't look real. Like the first trilogy can get away with a mix of bad CGI for back then, but great animatronics because you're invested in the story and the characters that you can go with it. But this, I was so detached and just disinterested in everything happening that the over-reliance on CG just really bugged me. And maybe it's just CGI fatigue in general. I just wasn't having it. Like I did think the boat sequence in the water early on is pretty good, where they have the scientifically accurate Spinosauruses. So that was fine. But the amount of callbacks, it's like, dude, stop invoking the original movie and the original book if you're gonna have the story be this weak. I mean, there's even a sequence where you have a character driving in a vehicle like a Jeep with dinosaur DNA, and they feel the need to zoom in on a sign that says the dock. It's like, yes, I get it. You're paralleling Nedry. I know it's about to happen. And the thing that's most perplexing about it is Gareth Edwards seems to think that people don't like dinosaurs anymore. He's like, yeah, that's why I had to work it into the story, that nobody cares about dinosaurs, so the museums are closing, and we had to come up with more mutated monsters in this movie. And the new thread, frankly, looks like a version of the Hell Knight from the Doom franchise. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, where? It's like, what are you thinking? You're coming off The Creator, which is a great movie where you had stunning visual effects, and here it's just like an overabundance of just mediocrity. David Koepp probably wrote the script in 5 minutes flat when he got up in the morning before his first cup of coffee. It's just, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as Fallen Kingdom, but it just left me feeling nothing.
Yeah, I think people were calling that dinosaur the down Saurus. I wasn't calling it that, but that's what I've been hearing. Yeah, this movie sucks. Devoid of heart, thrills, emotion, ideas, character, creativity, and a working script. Yet somehow, as you said, it's not the worst Jurassic World movie. Fallen Kingdom is never going to be not the worst Jurassic World movie. Well, who knows? Anything's possible.
And somehow it's still the most financially successful film of the summer.
Yeah, people like dinosaur, and the marketing was pretty good because it's like, oh, they're going back to an island. Cool, like this could be fun. But it just wasn't.
The strange thing about that is that one of the reasons Fallen Kingdom was so bad is that all it exists for is a series of plot devices to get the dinosaurs on the mainland. Mm-hmm. They kind of botched that in Dominion. But now in this movie, let's just go back to an island. It's like, what are you doing? The movie's called Jurassic World, not Jurassic Island again.
They should have gone back to the Jurassic Park name for this new story that they're telling with these new characters. I really think they should have, or even Jurassic Island. Make it a whole third thing. But yeah, calling it Jurassic World made no sense because it was a very small. It reminded me of Jurassic Park 3 a lot, where there's very few characters. So there's not going to be a lot of casualties.
But even that movie, I thought, did better job with most of their characters.
Oh, me too. I like Jurassic Park 3 for all its goofiness, and I love that it's an hour and 30 minutes.
And the title of this one, Rebirth, doesn't really mean anything. Like, there's nothing rebirth context in this movie.
Doesn't make any sense at all. They literally should have just called it Jurassic Island with no subtitle. I think Gareth Edwards is very visually talented, and I like the creator quite a bit. What he did for $80 million was amazing in that movie, and the fact that he kept the budget so low on this one is a guarantee that he's coming back to do another one, because this movie has made $800 million so far. It's one of the cheaper movies to make out of the summer blockbusters, so they're definitely making another one. Even if it's diminishing returns from the other ones, they're still financially successful. I really like Scarlett Johansson as an actress. She sucked in this movie, as did what's his fucking name? Mahershala Ali. He's fine, but it's such a stock character, where there's just nothing to it. And they didn't even have the balls to kill him at the end. Come on. I kind of hated this movie. The only redeeming thing is if in a vacuum, you take the scene you said, the boat scene with the Spinosauruses, and then you take the raft scene, even though the T-Rex looks a little shady in some spots, that scene I thought was executed well. But that could have been like, you make that a short film, because there's lots of fun little short Jurassic Park movies online.
And it's like that raft sequence should have felt as intense as the paddock sequence from the first movie. And
You just don't care about these people, though. You know,
I
that's
don't
the
care
thing.
about the people and having all these extreme wide shots of a giant CG thing. It's like Spielberg used like, what was it, a 60,000 pound
Yeah.
animatronic for that scene? Like,
That thing would malfunction all the time and scare the shit out of people on set.
Yeah, and it's like that would be, and it pains me to
It's
say
such
that.
a bummer because that raft scene was put into this movie because it's in the original Jurassic Park book. If you had Alan Grant and those kids in that raft, it would have been fucking amazing, you know, because we would have cared about what was the outcome, not just, oh, this is cool, this looks cool. It's like, I didn't even know who those people, I forgot who's even in the raft. Like, who is it? I don't even know.
Yeah, the dad and the daughters and the boyfriend or something.
Moving on to one of my most anticipated movies of the year, which probably no one watching this has heard of. It's called Pavements, and it's a documentary, sort of, based on my all-time favorite band, Pavement. It's one of the most unique takes on a documentary in recent memory. Pavements shows Pavement, my all-time favorite band, in 3 separate formats of media. Within this documentary-style film, there's a fictional subplot going on of Joe Keery from Stranger Things and the band Joe fame, playing himself, researching his new role to play Pavement's frontman Stephen Malkmus. This is thrown in and edited through the documentary. So you see him researching the character and watching videos of the character, ultimately giving us this trailer teaser of a fictional movie about Pavement that doesn't exist in real life. Confused yet? Well, this is basically the structure of a Pavement album. At the same time, there's a community theater group writing and choreographing a musical version of the story of Pavement's albums, because they're very concept albums, so to speak. And throughout the film, we get the true documentary of the band as seen through an alternate reality where the band was at one point the biggest band in the world. It's part mockumentary, part musical, part biopic, and all the crazy slacker tone of the band themselves. If you know Pavement and you know how their albums unfold, then you will understand the confusion and complexity of this film, because it is a documentary, but about Pavement as if they were the biggest band in the world, which they never were, mixed with Joe Keery, Steve from Stranger Things, getting ready to play Stephen Malkmus in a movie version. Also found footage, so to speak, of a community theater group creating a musical about Pavement. It's my favorite viewing experience of anything I've seen in 2025. Technically a documentary, but if you're just at all interested and not super confused by how I described this, it's a fascinating movie. Obviously, if you're a Pavement fan like me, you'll be laughing and cheering and loving the soundtrack. It's fantastic, and I love it that the director came out and stated, I didn't want to make a documentary. I wanted to make something that you would expect from Pavement, sort of a confusing, beautiful mess. And they've been described that in so many ways.
I was dressed for success.
Or Pavement.
But success, it never comes.
What do you do with this complete freedom?
It's masturbatory, pretentious bullshit.
And I'm the only one who laughs.
Progress is predictable, and predictability involves science. I have no interest in science.
All right, so I Know What You Did Last Summer takes a page out of the Scream and Halloween reboot playbooks, where instead of calling it like I Know What You Did Last Summer 3 or something, it's like, oh, we'll just give it the same title as the first one, like Scream 5 did, I think. So this one takes place in the modern day, so the same amount of time has passed since the previous films. The town of Southport has been bought out by this millionaire who's turned it into the Hamptons of the South. Ray works at a bar down by the docks. Julie teaches it at college 45 minutes out of town and hasn't been back to Southport in years. They explain that the Dead Man's Curve, where the accident happened in the first movie, is still just as deadly as it was in the original. There's another accident, so it's believable that there's another accident here. And they also surprisingly came up with a justified reason as to why the killer is wearing a fisherman's slicker. Was anybody really nostalgic about these movies to see the fisherman and the slicker come back? No.
I don't even remember the second one.
It wasn't scary. It wasn't too suspenseful. but it takes a really big swing in the third act, and it's obvious the director is very self-aware of how big of a swing it is, and that he's doing it deliberately because this franchise doesn't really have a lot of passionate fans. So it's like, whatever, if we upset people, we're just gonna have fun with it. I thought there might be a discourse among fans, but as expected, there's such limited fan base that I didn't hear any discourse about the ending of the film. So it was okay, and typical of these reboots where you bring the original female star back in the tail end of the third act to save your new characters and that kind of stock. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was better than the sequel, really better than the first one, because the first one wasn't really done very well either. But again, the director even acknowledged that, yeah, we know these movies aren't super popular, so let's just do this and see what people think. I, for one, didn't think it was true to the character, and it was kind of out of left field, but like, hey, whatever, it's crazy. And since I don't really care about this franchise and not many other people do either, then hey, why not?
Yeah. Thanks for watching another episode of The Leftovers. This one is the end of summer 2025. As always, Kat, thanks for joining me. And we drink your cinema, guys.
I drink it up!